in the last couple of days, as I prepared to go back to work, I had one workshop. And I had been telling myself that I want to take myself to the deep end because I have been handling clients of a certain age. And this year is one of those situations where I decided to just hold a workshop of women older than me, way older, like my mother's age. And it was very eye opening because, of course, we know they come with a lot of wisdom and a lot of experience. And they have so much to share, and they are in a point in their lives where there's no facade, there's no veil, they tell it as it is. And after the workshop, because I was the lead facilitator, and we had a candid conversation for about 3 hours, and then I had to hand over to my colleague, which was fine because now I got an avenue to just communicate one on one. And one of the questions I asked, which I had tried asking prior without success, was if they had any regrets in regards to parenting their children, because most of them were in their late 60s and early 70s, which is basically like my parents' age. And nobody prepared me for the answers I got, and I wish I had enough serviettes. I because it was very emotionally charged. The authenticity, the kind of depth that conversation had. Anyway, let me tell you some of the things that they shared with me that they regret in their parenting journey. And you, as a young parent, if you're a young parent like me, you'll pick some points and you'll be able to understand that, you blink and these kids grow, and, you're in an empty nest, and all you're left with are memories and what if I should have, I ought to have, and stuff like that. Number one, they said peer pressure in parenting is real, and it is something I've experienced, especially in this world of social media, where we want to prove to be the best in everything that we do, and we don't want to share our vulnerable moments. We don't want to share moments where we are not even sure of what we are doing, but we want to floss around. We are and sometimes we go way ahead of ourselves, and we want to invest in things that a budget does not allow, but because you want to fit in and you want to be associated with the creme de la creme of the society, then you go over and about just to prove a point to society. Peer pressure is real. If it doesn't fit your budget, maybe it's okay to tell your children no, to tell them to wait until there are enough finances for you to take care of whatever it is that they need, as long as we're not negotiating on the basic needs. All these other things, then you know what I'm talking about. They are negotiable. It's not a matter of life and death. As long as you've got food, you've got shelter, you've got clothing, they're able to go to school, they've got good medical care, and you are a present parent. Yeah. Number two, most of these parents wished they had taken adventures with their children. And I can imagine, like in this society, we have really accepted the value of a stay-at-home mom. When I was a child, this is a narrative that I actually absorbed. And in my experience, because I have been in the corporate world and have been a stay-at-home mom, there's a certain perception that people have of stay-at-home moms, that you're not well equipped, you're not learned, it's all you do is just stay at home and look pretty. All you do is just stay at home and do nothing. But most of these women, and believe me, these are women who were high in the corporate ladder back in the day, they said they wished they had time to spend with their children. They actually end with stay-at-home moms. Shout out to stay-at-home moms, because I know this is a reliever, realizing that, oh my God, the narrative is changing. Things are shifting. It's not about looking down upon other people. The corporate women are, wishing they could have more time with their children. The stay-at-home moms at some point do wish they were in the corporate world. So, as I'm saying, there's no balance. Just create time for your children. These mothers told me that they wish they read and mingled with their children, like helped them to do their homework, taught them some life skills, because most of these things were delegated to the nannies, all right, or the teachers. And one of them actually said she was a robot parent, technically. She was there technically, but she never really did anything for her kids, and now it bites her because she realizes there's so much she didn't do for her children. And somehow they've had this conversation, and it doesn't end well because the children end up blaming their parents. Now that's a topic for another day. So another one is, there's a way when you're expecting a child, you have this idea of the kind of child that you're supposed to have, and you're given a child and you kind of force them to conform into the idea that you have of the child that you ought to have had. Is that complicated? So you have expectations of the kind of child that you want, and then your child comes and is the complete opposite of what you expected. And then now you try to shrink your child and you try to make them conform, and you will do everything in your power to, to fit them into this cocoon that you have in your mind. And most of these parents had regrets. We had even parents giving experiences of how they forced their children to even take certain career paths because in their head they thought that is what they deserved. Unknowingly, they were forcing their children to fulfill the unfulfilled dreams. How weird is that? We had parents who just wished, they had walks with their children, they danced around with their children, they went fishing with their children, they put their children back to sleep enough times. And the kind of emotions that were evoked in that conversation gave me an avenue to even reflect on my journey as a parent, because I'm still raising my children and sometimes I take things for granted. So I'm just reminding you that these kids grow up very fast. These kids really grow up really, really fast. And it would be unfortunate if you looked back and had so many I wish I had on your list. Of course, you will not, there's nothing like a perfect parent. It's just being intentional, it's just being present, it's just allowing your children to blossom into the butterflies that they're meant to be. Having conversations, having in-depth, authentic conversations with your children, allowing your children to see you make mistakes because you're only human, apologizing to your children when you make mistakes, putting them to sleep, singing lullabies, playing hide and seek, dancing with them, playing bubbles, just doing everything within your power to be involved in their lives. Let me know what you think about this. Thank you for being here. Bye bye.